Tanya of Gimel Tamuz, Perek Yud Aleph. Says the Rebbe Vehine. Until now, we spoke about two madregas. We spoke about Kodesh B'richa, which is Ein Sof, which is absolutely one. And we spoke about Esses Sfiras. The emissaries, the Esses Sfiras are one with Hashem. Right? The emissaries, the Esses Sfiras are one with Hashem, which means that there really are no Esses Sfiras. Still, in our relationship with Him, or in His relationship with us, there is a concept of Esses Sfiras, of Chesed, and Gevurah, and Chachmei Emes Dibru Kain. This credibility, this truth to the idea of Esses Sfiras. And it explains that everything on Sunday is Chesed, everything on Monday is Gevurah. But that's not enough. Because in Chesed itself, there's a whole diversity of different types. In Gevurah itself, there's a whole diversity of different types. And the Alter Rebbe continues as Perek Yal Vehine. There's a third madreg. In addition to Save of Kalam, Kodesh B'richa, which we talked about in the Sharichat V'Emunah, the end of Perek Ches and Perek Tes. Right? The Perek Tes Be'ikah. In addition to the Sfiris, which we talked about in Perek Yud and so forth, there's a lower madrega than those two. And what is that? Asara Ma'amaris, the 10 utterances of creation, which basically are in Malchus of Atzilus. Okay, now where did we speak about Asara Ma'amaris? We spoke about Asara Ma'amaris in the very first Perek of Sharichat V'Emunah. It was repeated again at the end of Perek Beis, and it was repeated again at the end of Perek Zayin. Right? That Hashem creates the world using Oisius. That these letters and these words, different sirufim and different possibilities, create a variety of different creations. These Asara Ma'amaris come from the 6 midas, or come from the 10 Sfiras. 10 Sfiras is only 10. Asara Ma'amaris is theoretically an infinite diversity of expressions of the 10 Sfiras. So that the Asara Ma'amaris also have reality only from our perspective, and it's a third step in the building block of creation. Yeah, and ultimately in the Inyan of Achta. It says like this: Gam Asara Ma'amaris Gamkin. Also, the 10 utterances of creation, Nikru B'Shem Ma'amaris, are called utterances L'Gaben Avrayim Bulvad, compared to the creations alone. Just as we spoke in Esses Sfiras before, we said Esses Sfiras exist L'Gabe us, because we see Chesed in creation, we see Gevurah in creation, we see Tiferes in creation. Similarly, we see a diversity of different types of Chesed, a diversity of different types of Gevurah. And therefore, not only are the Esses Sfiras true, but true only to us, the Asara Ma'amaris are also true, and true only to us. And he gives you a very, very elaborate example. The emotions in a person. A person has feelings. That is galus. When a person expresses his emotions, in an action, a person does an act of tzedakah, a person does an act of gevurah. First, you think about that kindness. For example, in our soul there is an attribute of kindness and compassion. You can't actually do chesed directly from the heart, unless through the fact that first you think in your das, and you anticipate the act of charity and kindness. I'll say do it in actual fact. And again, you can tell me the difference between machshava and hidur, I'll give you a gold star. Again, from Sof Perek Beis, it seems to me that machshava means to think about doing something. Hidur means to think more theoretically. But here's mashma faket, because if hidur was more theoretical than machshava, he should first say maharid and then machashav. Says you can't do any act, believe machshava without thinking about it. And if in fact you're not doing it yourself, someone is doing it for you. For a king, who speaks to others and gets them to do things, you can't even go from thought to action. As I saw then, this midah of chesed, which is in your heart, and the thought that you visualized how you're going to do kindness, has to go into the spoken word. And only afterwards can come to action. Similarly, a person speaks words of kindness and compassion to his fellow. The chesed goes from the heart to the machshava to the dibur. And before I give also, he mentioned the idea of ma'isa. The same is true also by way of the nimshal, the analogy. I've told this to you before. In Tanya, you don't have the word nimshal. A mashal is al derech mashal, and the nimshal of the mashal is also al derech mashal. The midas of the Eibishter. When a person reveals a midah, when the Eibishter reveals a midah in his function in the lower worlds, nikra gilu is that this revelation is called. And bringing down this activity, it's called an utterance and the formation of letters. In other words, the Eibishter's chesed, klayochel, has to be made specific. It has to be specialized. Top of page 176. It cannot be, there should be any function that is nimshachas mimidesa v'akdeishes, that radiating from the holy midas. Beli tzirufim, without the formation of letters. Hanekroim b'shem eis is not just called letters. In other words, in Perek Yud we spoke about chesed, we spoke about gevura. Now we're saying chesed and gevura is still too basic. Right, just like we understand, even though Hashem is a Kel Yachal to do anything He wishes, from Ein Sof itself, you don't have a disparate world. The diversity of the world does do with Midas. Now we're saying the Midas is not yet sufficient diversity. You also have to have Oisius. Belit Tzirufim, without the formation of letters, and Ekroim B'Shem Eises, which are called letters. Here, for example, Labriya, the creation of light is a Midas HaChesed, comes from the attribute of Chesed. So the Rabbanim, Shachimene, it brings down from it Hamshachas Pe'ula V'Keach. The bringing down of a pu'ula, of the, you know what the word pu'ula means? The tool of action. V'keach, from the energy to actually act. V'livre, and to create be, using this midah. As this light, v'hamshachas keach, and bringing forward this possibility, v'chayezu, and this specific life, from a particular midah, nikras b'shem maimer v'esis. It's called by the name maimer, an utterance. V'esis, and the letters, that maimer, stop. Just like the Eibishter creates the world using the midas, because from our perspective there are midas, and we say that chachmi emes dibrukein. We're saying now that in chesed itself there has to be eisis to create one particular creation within the whole variety of possibilities of midas chesed. For example, the letters in cases although the letters are not the same as our letters even of thought. Nevertheless, the idea of the letters let there be light are an idea. Which indicates, it points, Alis Havos, and the creation of light, Me'ayin Liyesh, from a non-existential thing into an existential form. And it creates only light. Shalachein, Nivra Ha'ed, and this is the reason light, to the exclusion, for example, of water, is created through this Midas HaChesed, Mamshas Keach, that's bringing forward this Keach. And it did not create other things, which would also be from Chesed. For example, Mayim, water, Ukubietzim, and the like, are also chesed. So according to what we said in Perek Yud, that Sunday is chesed and Monday is gevura, there should be 6 types of creations. Everything on Sunday is chesed. Water, light, there should be no distinction. Therefore, there's a second layer, and that is the Madrega, the Maimer and the Oisi, that which says that chesed itself should be this particular form of chesed, Mayim, or Eid, and so forth and so on. Because the energies and the formations of letters which are necessary to create water are distinct, which indicate the creation of water, and so forth. And as a consequence, all the life and the energy or powers which come down from the holy attributes, so to speak, to the lower realms, to create them from a non-existential state into an actual existence, to give them life, to give them existence. The way it comes to us is not directly from the Midas, but Nikrois b'Shem, it would be called by the name of Oises Akdeishes, the holy letters, the holy formations, which brings down life, from the will and wisdom, and of course understanding and knowledge, and the Midas, the 6 Midas, the Spheres, to create the worlds, and to give them life. That the diversity in the world is broader than the 6 Midas, has to do with Oises as well. And in general, there's 2 types of worlds created, not just from the Midas, but the Midas as they're compounded and complicated by the Asias. Alman, Steam, and the law is Galman, the hidden worlds, which are not revealed. Heimam, Mishavim, V'chaim, they're created and get life. V'chaim and exist. From possibilities and energies and things that are drawn down that are hidden. For example, the effect of one's thought obviously does not have an impact on the physical world. The Eibishter creates worlds from his thought, which creates very, very holy and spiritual worlds. The Alman, the Izgalian, and the revealed worlds are Nivru. They were created, V'chayim, and they had their life. Me'izgalas, from the revelation, Shenizgalu, Keiches, V'amshachas, and Elamis. There's a revelation of the strength and the hidden Hamshachas, what's drawn down. Hanekroim, B'Shem Eitzes HaMachshava, that when they're hidden, they're called letters of thought. Ukeshem B'Bchinas Hizgalas, and when they're revealed, Lahach is Alman, to give life to the world. There's Gaia that are revealed, in other words, the lower worlds. They're called utterances, and the words of Hashem, and the air that comes forward from His mouth. Like the words of speech in a person by way of analogy. They're revealed to people who are listening. Believe what was hidden and concealed in a person's heart. So the point is that the oisius become, if you will, the diversifiers of the Sfiras. In the last Pedic we said that really the Sfiras don't exist because they're one with the source. But nevertheless we talk about Sfiras because in relation with us there are Midas. Now he's saying that just like in relation of this Midas, in relation there's also oisius, which creates a whole diversity in the creation. And Achdus is going to mean, first of all, that the world needs those oisius to create them every single second. Second of all, that these oisius are one with the Sfiras. And third of all, that the Sfiras is one with the Ein Sof. So essentially everything is one with the Eibishter.